Okay, so yeah, welcome to the class. And today's lesson, we're going to be talking about crossing the chasm. And so this is just a continuation of what we've done. We've been looking at different theories in terms of adoption of technology. And so let me go through what we are going to be doing today. Okay. Um, Now, if this was my regular class, I would actually be playing these videos. But I think in order for to save some time, and so it's going to be less time than my actual class would be. You can watch these videos on your own. Okay, so this would be the first video that I would be playing, which would be crossing the chasm. Now, this is the activity that you know that I'm going to have you work on today. And basically, you're going to do this in your breakout room. And because what we've been using in basically our high school class is Google Meet. So what I want you to do is analyze Google Meet, and these are the different areas. Okay, so think of this while I'm going through the course. Introduce the product, which is Google Meet. What is the beachhead if you're going to basically launch Google Meet? And then what is the segment in most pain? And I'm going to go through this in more detail. So these are the areas, the agenda for today. I'm also going to be talking about the issue of alignment, size, whole product thinking, and compare and contrast. So that's the agenda. And to wrap it up, you're going to be in your breakout groups working on this and presenting in front of the class. So this is a video, Simon Sinek, Law of Diffusion of Innovation. And, it's on the Google Classroom. In my regular class, I would have played this, but we're just going to skip that and we'll save some time. But this is just the diffusion of innovation theory. Okay. So the biggest gap is the one between early adopters and early majority. And this is in Crossing the Chasm by Geoffrey Moore, who focused on this gap. So if you take a look, the big scary chasm is between the early adopters and the early majority. So think about the Google Meet. How are you going to basically focus on getting the early adopters to adopt this technology and also the early majority based on what we learned in the earlier lessons about the characteristics of early adopters and people in the early majority. So I'm not going to play this video. I would play this in the class, right? You can watch this on your own. Diffusion and innovation theory, the adoption curve.
Jason, I just have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So roughly, so for the 3 videos you've got, just so we get some idea, what's sort of the time range for the videos that you would have played?
So the videos, when I do my class, I make sure to keep them short because,
yeah.
And so they're only like 5 minutes, 7 minutes,
Okay.
8 minutes.
All right. I was just trying to get an idea. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
5 to 7 minutes is too long.
Okay.
3 minutes is accepted.
Okay. Thanks, Gordon.
Sorry.
That's okay. So how to cross the chasm. So think about, when you go into the breakout rooms, first you got to pick a beachhead. So for Google Meet, what is the beachhead? So where did Moore come up with this theory? So just as the Allies concentrated their forces on the beaches of France to begin retaking Europe, you must focus on a small, well-defined segment of the early majority in order to successfully cross a chasm. So I'll give you an example. Like If we talk about Facebook, right, and Zuckerberg, he focused on university students initially. So think about, Google Meet. Who would they focus on based on your understanding? Now, the next part that I want you to address is find the segment in most pain. So, and when you're, when we're talking about marketing, it's basically in another model we learned about, you're focusing on meeting people's needs. And I like how, Moore uses the term finding the segment in most pain, because they're looking for a solution to a problem that's causing them pain. So when you're dealing with mainstream customers, they want to see case studies before they buy. But if you find a segment that has a painful problem that they want to solve really badly, they won't care about case studies. They won't care so much about who you are. They just want the pain to go away. Okay, so so you don't need to sell it to them as much, because they're really looking for something that will deal with the issue that they have. Now, the alignment issue. The alignment is finding the segment that best lines up with your strengths. So think about what are the strengths of Google, for example, and what is the segment. And so we talked about segment earlier in marketing, the market segment. So you can even, there's different ways to do it. Like you could focus on a generation, like Generation Z, for example. You could do like psycho lifestyle. There's different elements. So you decide which element you want to focus on, and then identify that segment, and based on, the company Google, and what are the company's strengths. Now, size. This opportunity should be big enough to matter to you, but small enough that they are being ignored by larger competitors. Because Google Meet, we're taking the case where Google Meet's just starting off. It hasn't crossed the chasm. There's not widespread adoption. But you don't want big players to all of a sudden target you right in the beginning. And so you want to start off small and grow, right? Dominate with whole product thinking. So this is about dominating the beachhead that you're chosen. Do it by expanding your product to solve your segment's pain better than anyone else. So when you see the word product, most of you are thinking about a specific piece of technology, like an app, a piece of software. So what I want you to think about when we're talking whole product thinking is, a product is you can think of it like concentric circles, and there's different layers that make a product whole. Like, for example, it could be customer service. It could be certain attributes that really add to the benefit to the consumer. And so if you're trying to cross the chasm, you want to provide a complete experience. You have to broaden your definition of what that product means. And so I would play this in my class, Steve Jobs, the whole product concept. And so if, my class was watching this video, they would see how Steve Jobs introduced the iPod. And with the iPod, it had basically, it was coupled with FireWire. So consumers could download all these music files like so quickly with FireWire. So he thought about all these issues that customers had to deal with in order for the product to be successful, and others issues like customer service. So that's what I mean by the whole product and dealing with all the different components of it. It's not just the iPod itself. There's other issues combined, like for example, if the consumer is having difficulty with the product. So the whole product thinking, Apple took MP3 players, which at that time were enjoyed by only the early tech adopters, into the mainstream. And so the point here is consider what outcome your beachhead wants to create, then supplement your technology to whatever is needed to create that outcome. So like I mentioned, could be support, consulting, services, additional features, etc. The whole product thinking. Now, compare and contrast. So you got to make sure your messaging is easy for your beachhead to understand. So you're going after more conservative, attention poor people. Your pitch has to be clear. They have reputations to uphold. They have people to report to. So they need to feel that you are a safe option. So it's really important that you're able to really get your message across why they should switch to your product. And by making easy to compare and contrast you to other options that they recognize, mainstream buyers probably have never heard of you, or if they have heard of you, they're not entirely sure what you do, right? So we're talking about the early stages of Meet. There's other products already out there, like, for example, Skype. That's the earlier product, and then Zoom, right? So at the early stage, people don't really know much about Meet. So this is what we're going to work on right now. Let me know how you guys want to do this. Did you guys want to just come up with something quickly and apply the theories? Like maybe you two want to discuss it and just spend like 5-10 minutes. I've really condensed my lesson, took out, all the videos, and also because, I'm not dealing with my actual grade 12 class, but this gives you idea of, of what the class actually would be like. So I've really condensed the time. Okay, and so what I do is then I would have the students, I would share the slide with them, and then they would just type it right into my slide deck, and they would present it in front of the class. So I don't know, Gordon, Rich, how do you feel? What do you guys feel is the best approach now?
This is obviously targeted at an audience that knows what you're talking about.
No, exactly. That's right.
Okay.
So should we go along, or should we just say that's it? We're done. You guys, theoretically, well, there's a lot of lessons before this. So I'm just picking one lesson here, and it's like, you guys, there's no scaffolding done. It's not like.
That's fine. And I don't think we necessarily need to do the activity now. I mean, we see the outline of what you're asking the students to do.
Yeah. So you guys, so it's a general idea. So I really condensed it, and this would be like an entire 75-minute class activity, basically, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I started looking at it, I guess, Jason, I started looking at it, trying to follow the technical side of it. And then
actually, should we keep recording, because
that's
this is
why
for
we're
Rob.
here. We're looking at we're not here to look at the technical side of anything, because I'm gonna end up talking about technology and learning.
Sorry, Gordon. I just want to make sure. Should I stop the recording for Rob right now, or should we keep?
Yeah, I think so, because we can just have a conversation now. Like, you taught the lesson, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I taught the lesson and what it sort of would be like. So I'm going to stop the recording now, and I'm going to post this in Google Classroom so everybody has an idea. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so stop.